Hello, hello. Welcome to today's stream. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun one. I'm going to continue work on CoreLMS. Whomever you two viewers are, thank you for being here. I think one of them might be me, but I'm not entirely sure. In any case, appreciate you being here. So we'll give everybody just a second to start rolling in. Everybody, like the two people who watch on a normal basis. Hey, Jamie, how you doing, man? Yeah, I saw you, well, at least you absolved yourself of responsibility for your code problem, so that's a major step in the right direction. Appreciate you being here in any case. So yeah, today going to continue working on the learning management system / e-commerce project that I started last week. It's going to be a fun project. It really is. There's a lot of stuff that I'm going to cover. And by cover, I mean learn myself and then do live and mess up and fix and get help from the community on and so forth. So yeah, going to keep working on that. Going to get some good stuff done. We're going to flesh out the database model. Ooh, now I got to go through the C# source code for the uploader. That will be interesting. Haha. Yes. Well, I do C#. Not necessarily well, but I do it. So, like I said, holler if you ever want a second set of eyes on it, but you got this, man. You clearly. But, yeah. So, going to flesh out the database model a little bit today, and then add our first business logic service. Start the first business logic service. It won't be complete, of course, but we'll get it started, and then first unit tests. So yeah, bring in the first real unit tests to run against our new business logic service, and go from there. That'll probably be enough for the stream for today, but we'll see. Yeah. So let's see what we want to start with. So what we're going to start on... Nope. Haha, found it. This is what we're going to be working on today, or at least part of this is what we're going to be working on today. So last week we added the course. So course is added as an entity. But what I need to do is flesh out the rest of some of these objects. So we'll get those added, and then we need to add the author, of course, which is a many-to-many relationship, because a course can have multiple authors and an author can have multiple courses. And then every author and customer will also be a person in the database. And that's because customers can also be authors and vice versa. So I don't want to duplicate data on a single person, since that data is exactly the same, whether you're an author or a student. But the author and student objects will just flesh out those specific profiles with extra data. So yeah, that's what I'm going to work on. And I reckon I'm just going to jump in and get started. So if there's anybody else in the chat, say hi. We're a friendly bunch here. Yeah, had a friend start up a Discord for me the other day as well, so if anybody wants to join the Discord and you pop in here, just let me know and we'll get you an invite link. Actually, Jamie, you should be able to do that too. I think anybody can do that, but you definitely can because you're a mod. So, all right, let's get on the code screen and start doing stuff. Okay. So again, last week we got the solution sort of scaffolded up. It's the basic structure is there. I don't know what would be in this secrets file, so I'm going to move it over here real quick and just make sure I don't have anything terribly interesting. I don't know why that's there. That's weird. I don't think it matters, but just in case. Okay, so yeah, we got the basic structure of the solution and projects laid out, and we started on our first entity, which is the course. We got a few interfaces built, and now it's time to start fleshing this stuff out. So let's start with course lessons, because that's more interesting. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so next entity will be a, what do we want to call it? Course lesson or lesson? I think I like course lesson. Yeah, why not? Okay, so we'll add a new entity. Course lesson. Cool. Oh, one thing I do want to do is go fix a type that we created last week. And this will be an auditable. Is it auditable separately? Yes. Auditable entity, I think is what that is. Yep. Cool. All right, so we got that done. Now let me go fix this type while I'm thinking about it. So I actually started a blog-ish sort of thing. Started writing about this project on the dev community website. Great community if you're not already familiar with it. Amazing bunch of people, very smart people. And I hope to be one of them one day. But yes, so started blogging about it, and as I was blogging about it, I'll pop that link in here. As I was blogging about it, I realized I left out a potential feature in the type that I started. So I'll go fix that real quick. So the two types of courses we have right now are on demand, so like pre-recorded content, versus live webinar. So literally a live broadcast like on Twitch or something like that. I do want to be a little more nuanced about that, and I could have sort of a subtype if I wanted to. Is that how I want to do it? So the point is, what is the point? Okay, for a pre-recorded course, it can either be a simple course, so just a single video with a name and a description, or it could be a more complex course with modules and lessons and broken out into a more complex structure. They're both still on-demand courses. So we have course type, on-demand or live webinar. We could either distinguish it here and have on-demand simple and on-demand complex, or we could have a course format type, maybe. How do we want to do that? I don't like adding complexity if we don't have to. I think I'm just going to rename this for now. I can always change it later. So on-demand simple, on-demand complex. Okay. That'll at least get us going for now, and I can quit talking about it. So yeah. Okay, so course lesson. And it's fussing at me because I need to implement the required members. So that's fine. Get set. This just ensures that we have all of the required fields if we should want to audit things. And we probably will at some point. We'll add at least basic audit logging. But mainly, it just makes sure that I have a primary key and these fields that I want on basically everything in the system. So, yeah, okay, so this is going to have a reference back to a course. So we'll have course, what is the convention on foreign keys? Because it changed in Entity Framework Core. Find that real quick. Entity Framework Core conventions, perfect. Okay. Great idea. Okay, so okay, we'll go with that. Course ID, And then we'll also have a navigation property that is the actual course itself, which is really cool. I love that about Entity Framework, because it just pre-wires everything up for us. We don't need to ever worry about it. Now in this case, this is where you start getting into things like aggregates and aggregate roots and stuff like that. Technically, a course lesson should never really exist without the parent course. So the need for a navigation property back to the parent course, I don't know. But yeah, there's no reason not to add it, because it doesn't add any expense to the database access. So there's that. There'll be a moment where I want to go course lesson.course, and if I don't put it in there, I'll be mad at myself. So we'll go ahead and add it. Okay. That's our foreign key. Now, course lessons will have a variety of props themselves. Call it name. We'll have a description. Now, what else will we have on a course lesson? We'll have a video file. And in my case, I'm going to be using Wistia for the video integration. So all I need for Wistia is the hash, basically the ID of the course, of the video rather, in their system. But I don't necessarily want to tie it specifically to Wistia. I'll tell you what, let's add another type. And we'll call it video source. Might want a lesson type as well, because a lesson could also not be a video at all. It could be just an informational screen or PowerPoint. So, okay, we're gonna add a couple of types here. So let's add lesson format to start with. Just lesson type. No reason to be extra verbose. This will be a public enum lesson type, fine, and this will be, let's say, lesson type will be video, and then let's say text, to be very clever. Okay, we'll just go with that for now. Those two, there'll probably be other formats that I'll add, not important for the moment. Let's add our next type, which is going to be the video source type. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to say Wistia is the first type, because that's the primary one I want to build. We can go ahead and add a YouTube, Vimeo, and for now we'll just add an other as well. So the reason for distinguishing what is the reason for distinguishing? For Wistia, for YouTube, and I think for Vimeo, all we need to capture is the tag or the ID of the video on their system. And then we use that to embed correctly depending on the video type. So, okay, so that's, we do need to distinguish. If we have an other as a video source type, we're going to assume that the entire URL is pasted, and we'll make sure the UI explains that. And so we'll just, actually, we'll either say the embed code. We'll call it the embed code. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, let's distinguish that as well. So, Wistia embed, YouTube embed, Vimeo embed, and other embed. And then if we need something at some other point that's not an actual embed code, it's just a link or something, then we can add that type as well. But so for Wistia, for YouTube, or for Vimeo, we're going to assume that all we need is the code of the video. That'll work. And then for other, it'll be the entire embed code. So that's fine. We'll deal with that later. Okay, so we have those 2 types added now. So we'll need to add a lesson type. This will be public lesson type, because we're clever with our naming. And hello to the new viewers popping in. Appreciate you being here. Say hello. Tell us who you are, what you do. Appreciate you watching along. So if you're not familiar with what I'm doing, I mean, not typing, but if you're not familiar with the project that I'm working on, it is called CoreLMS. It is an open source learning management system and e-commerce platform. So basically a storefront where you can go buy a course and then all of the app stuff behind the scenes to deliver that course and the administrative interface and all that. So it is 100% open source. You can get the code over here. Yes. Okay, so there's the GitHub. You'll find CoreLMS as one of the repos. Feel free to snatch it, follow along. It's not much interesting in it just yet because we started last week. But eventually it will be a fully functional system that you could take and develop as your own, on top of, or whatever you want to do with it. So, okay, so we have our lesson type. Right now what we're doing is fleshing out some of the entities in the system. Source type. And then we'll be adding our first business logic service. And first unit test. So, yeah. Cool. All right. So we have name, description, lesson type, video source type. One other thing we need to do is on our course, we need to add navigation property for our lessons. And once again, I cannot remember how Entity Framework Core likes to do this time around. So I'm going to open up a different project where it's already been done for me. The scaffolding is amazing, particularly if you're migrating from an older version of Entity Framework to a newer version of Entity Framework. So this is going to be in my entities. Let's find a good one. Bank, that'll work. They do a hash set. Do we want a hash set? Do we want a list? I don't actually know what really the difference is. C# hash set versus list. Let's find out. Performance, there's a good one. So it's clear that a search performance with the generic hash set T is higher than a generic list. Okay. Just compare the hash-based key. Well, that's probably why Entity Framework chose that instead of a list. Just compare the hash-based key with the linear approach. However, calculating hash key takes some. We'll go with hash sets for now. Keep it simple. So what we're going to have is a public I collection of course lesson. Okay, so we have that, and then we need a constructor up here. And we'll initialize that course lessons equals new hash set of course lesson. Okay, so now we have our navigation property that will automatically wire up, and this is one to many, so we don't add a course ID, of course. But it'll automatically wire up any course lessons that do belong to it based on the foreign key right here. So cool. So we have that. Now on our lesson, we have name, description, lesson type, video source type. Okay, we need to capture an embed. Embed code. Do I like that? Embed code. No, that's not, because it's not necessarily going to be an embed code. We'll say, what do we want to call this? I could also, instead of having a video source type directly on this, I could have a separate object for an embed that would, that's just, it's so easy to over normalize in C# because you're just building objects. And then you end up with this massively complex structure that you don't need, that is extremely expensive to deal with, computationally, of course. So I don't want to do that. But I do want to make sure that my properties are properly descriptive. So don't like embed code. What do we want to call it? It will either be an embed code, or it will be a video ID, or it will be a video URL. Video source code. We'll call it video source code. Because I want to move on. Okay, so we have video source type, we have video source code. And based on the type, it will be one of the things that we need. Okay, we'll go with that. Alright, so we have the basics on a lesson. The other thing a lesson might have is course attachments. So let's go ahead and add a new entity for that. Course lesson attachment. I'm all about verbosity. I like everything to be clear. What it is, where it belongs. When you start getting out into 3-word class names, start to wonder. So we could have a generic attachment that could be used anywhere in the system, but I don't know where else it would actually be used. And even if it was, I still want it to be tightly connected to the course lesson. Course lesson attachment. Not getting too verbose. Nah. I guess we'll add it. Course lesson attachment. Then there is zero confusion about what this thing is. That's what we want. This will also implement auditable entity. Yep. And now we implement the interface, and we do our get sets. I wonder if there's a way to get Visual Studio to quit. I'm not sure I want it to. What I want is that for simple properties, it just defaults to get set instead of throwing not implemented. But for methods in the interface, actual methods, I guess this kind of is, methods as properties anyway, it does the throw not implemented because that's how I like to scaffold out my new methods, because then we can do the red-green refactor pattern for test-driven development. We could do it anyway, but it just makes it cleaner. So, okay. In any case, we have that. For this, for now, we're going to have an attachment name. What is that from? Okay. We'll have a description. For me, as I'm building this, I'm going to want to use Azure Storage, blob storage, to store my files, any attachments that I upload. But for somebody else, they might be using AWS if they're taking this and building on top of it. They might be building on an actual server, so they might want to use local storage, which would be a bad idea. But still, it needs to support it. So I don't want to add like a URL field here. It needs to have a more generic... I'm going to come back to that, because I need to think through that, and I may end up having... I don't know. I'll think through that. In any case, we have the ability to flesh out the initial object structure and load everything up. Okay, so we need to add our foreign keys. So we'll have public int course lesson ID. Okay, there's our foreign key. We'll add our navigation property. Okay, we have all that now, and then we'll do the same thing on course lesson as we did on the course itself. We'll have course lesson attachment. There we go. Course lesson. Actually, lesson attachments or course lesson attachments or attachments. I'm just going to keep it verbose. There's no reason. It's not like we have to save bytes in our systems anymore. I mean, obviously, to a given degree. I mean, we don't want to be ridiculous and just waste memory and things, but it's not like back in the days where we had 16 kilobytes of memory and had to uber optimize every byte so we have I and Z as our variable names. We can be descriptive, and if anybody is ever going to look at our system besides us, it's going to help them if we are. And since this is an open source project, and I hope other people will be looking at it, I want to be verbose. So yeah, I'm going to keep saying that, mainly as a mantra to remind myself why I'm being as verbose as I am. Okay, so we have that. Now we need to add our constructor and initialize that. So this dot course lesson attachments hash set course lesson attachment. Okay, perfect. So we have our course, we have our course lessons. Our course lessons have attachments. Cool. Okay, so popping back over to our diagram, we have this and this added now. Both one-to-ends, so one-to-minis, no problem. We'll also have tags and categories that we can add, and those are great, but I want to keep moving and actually get around to some good stuff today, so we'll come back to that. Next thing we need to add is an author, which will also depend on, actually, multiple authors. Ooh. Here's a thought. Okay, we'll come back to that thought. Author will depend on person, so we'll need to start with person, then we can add author on top of person. And I'll probably end up changing person as well. Nah, probably not. Because we'll need to add an identity system, of course, authentication, user management, and all that stuff. And I'm going to use ASP.NET Core's built-in identity management solution because it's easy and that's all we need for this project. But it has its own table structure and everything for users, but I do still want person to be separate because we could have people in the system that aren't necessarily users of the system. If we want to add an author, for example, that's never going to log into our site, or at least isn't going to log in for now, then we still need to be able to capture that information without having to create a dead user record, that kind of thing. So, okay, the other thought I was just thinking about is I was originally intending to put the author on the course. I think I want to put it on the course lesson. And we can always aggregate that if we're looking at the actual course. We can just loop through all the lessons, pull the authors, good to go. But it is more correct, I think, because we may have a lesson by one lesson by one author and the next lesson by a different author, and if all we have is the authors on the course, there's no way to tell that unless we duplicate data, which is dumb. So we're not going to do that. So we're going to reroute this sucker and put him over here. Author is going to belong to course. No, it's going to belong to lesson. Okay. Before we get to that, though, we need to add our person. So let's add a new entity. And we'll do that. I'm just going to keep going. If y'all are just lurking, that's absolutely fine. You don't have to feel obligated to chat, but I would love for you to chat, especially if you see me doing something stupid, which is going to happen often. But otherwise, yeah, just let me know who you are. Say hi. Yeah. Otherwise, lurk away. All right, get set. This is really annoying. The good news is I will never have to touch this again, at least on this entity. So as annoying as it is to have to go through and do that every time I create a new entity, eventually I will not be creating many, if any, new entities. Okay. So the ever important question, what information do we want to capture about a user? About a person, rather. Start with the basics. First name. Yay. Still trying to get used to typing prop instead of like using the helper that's built into Visual Studio. That's why you'll see me start typing public string, public whatever, and then go back trying to make myself do it. It's hard to actually type my last name. That would be useful. Okay, so we have first, middle, last. In the industries I work in, suffix is incredibly important, so we'll capture that as well. We can capture title either as a string or as an enum. That's kind of... Nah, we're going to avoid it. No need to add it for now. We can always flesh that stuff out later. We can add gender with all the various options that we need. We can add titles if we actually need it. But that's one thing about this project is I'm planning... So I'm building this open source version of this that's going to be fairly basic, but functional. And then I'm going to fork it and build on the rest of what I need for my clients. What is going on with Visual Studio? It's got a... I am on the wrong damn screen. Okay, let's... That's not what I need. Go back to here. Okay, now we're back in the code. I'm trying to see. Yeah, you can see it. It's like cutting off some of the text here, and I don't know why. Wonder if it's an OBS thing. Grumpy Game Dev, lines and boxes, and hello. Hello, Grumpy Game Dev. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, so I'm going to take the core of this, fork it, and flesh it out with all the super secret goodness that my client needs. So I can always add stuff that we need specifically for him and his business later. Right now, I want to keep it as generic as possible. So we'll call it first, middle, last, suffix, name. Nah. Okay, we have that. What else do we need? We need email. This is one area where we may end up duplicating some data, and it may cause me a headache later. because by default, if I remember right, ASP.NET Core Identity uses email as the primary like username, and I don't want to mess around with the identity data structure. I'm not sure you can even go that far, but so we'll end up with username as their email address and an email on the person record. Probably could make that a little more optimized. I'm not terribly worried about it. We will need to be aware of it later, so that if we're giving them the ability to edit their profile, which would be this stuff, if they change their email here, we need to make sure we update it in the identity system so that when they log in the next time, well, I changed my email. So that's the one thing we'll need to be aware of there. What other information might we need? Thinking from the e-commerce perspective, we might want, see, I did it again. We might want a phone number. And again, we're not going to necessarily shoot for 100% coverage of every data point we'll ever need on a person today. Actually, that's probably sufficient right there, because it's going to be a living system. We're going to develop it as we go. We can always add properties and migrate and do other things. That's what test-driven development for is too. So we have tests that will make sure that we're not breaking things when we add those things, because it's an inevitable part of software development. So we have first, middle, last suffix. We have email. We have phone number. Is there anything critical to know about a person that I'm leaving out right now? Don't think so. All right, so we have our person. That is really bugging me. Social security number. Hey, good point. Go ahead and add that stuff in there. Is it something to do with this side? Nope. Okay, so it's not like a hidden window blocking. I don't know. Visual Studio is just dumb. Yeah, definitely need to add that, because what's the point of developing software if not for identity theft? Which is actually, I have access to a lot of information working in the fintech industry as well. So if I ever wanted to be a bad guy, I could be a pretty bad guy, but I'm not, because I like not being in jail. And I would just turn myself in, because as my wife is quick to point out all the time, I'm too chicken shit to even sneak into a second movie without paying for the ticket. So I don't like breaking rules. It's kind of my thing. But anyway, okay, so we have our person object. Let's... What do we need to do next? We need to add a course. No, not going to call it course. I'm going to call it author. Hello, Shizmo. I'm using my face. That's awesome. Appreciate you hanging out. Okay, so we're going to add an author thingy. That is not the right button. Let's try it again. There we go. Author. So this will be the author profile information that we store separately, in addition to the person information, which will just be a foreign key relationship. So I know it's going to need to be an auditable entity, like everything else. So we'll go ahead and do that. And now I'm thinking about foreign keys. So an author will definitely have a person. I'm actually going to try something and then go ahead and run a migration once we get the basics done, because I want to make sure of how it works, because I think it changed in Entity Framework Core. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so foreign keys first. So I know we'll need to reference back to a person ID, because every author will be a person. Not every person will be an author, but it could be. Yeah. Person. Okay. Nope. Need to actually name the variable. Metal Storm coming in hot with a question. Is deleted plus date deleted? Why do you need both, and or why isn't is deleted just checking if a date deleted is set? Because that's how other people do it. um, I've actually thought about exactly the same thing particularly as I was developing this one. I always have is the short answer when developing these systems, and it does make it just that little bit more verbose without being. You don't have to do null checks on a date deleted, but you can just literally look at the Boolean, so it's just a little bit clearer. And performance-wise, I don't know. I don't know if there's a difference between a null check on a date time versus a bool check, but But kind of like you said, you've seen it so many times. That's sort of where I picked it up. And yeah, soft delete is good. That's the whole point of doing it this way. Because the notion of actually deleting data from my system, any system, much less an auditable one, is just why? Why do you need to do it? Storage is so incredibly cheap. Like, there's just no reason to delete it. Actually. Unless you're in, I don't know. Anyway, there's arguments, I guess, but you could just have null in the date deleted. Yep, it is a nullable field already. It will be null by default. So yeah, I mean, the only place it's really going to be checked is going to be in the. Actually, I'm not even sure. I need to make sure I added that. I'm not sure I added that global filter yet. I'll do that in a second. I think the only place it's actually ever going to be used is in the global filter on the context where it's automatically filtering out anything where the date or where the record is deleted. So yeah, I could just. You know what? The time for mindlessly following what everybody else does is past. And I'll probably find out there's a very good reason why they did it. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get rid of all this. Because it is kind of dumb. Yeah, question everything. Yeah. All right, so let's go edit all of our things. And we'll get rid of those fields. It's just one less data point to track and have to deal with. Got it out of there. Get it out of here. Get it out of here. Glad somebody called it out early on and not when I have 100 entities to go fix. But don't you need to make sure in every case that you always set both? More chance of bugs. Yeah, so again, along those lines, what we're going to have in the in the database context is we're going to override save changes, I think. So that anything that implements iAuditable entity and is currently in the deleted state is not actually going to be deleted. We're going to change it to modified, and that's where we're going to set whatever fields we need to. So we would set the date deleted, and we would set the is deleted flag right there, the bool. So as long as we get it right in that one spot, it's always taken care of for us, and we can just go about our merry way using the normal delete functions in Entity Framework. And if you had we don't have to ever worry about it again. Grumpy Game Dev, if you had a persisted computed column based on date deleted, you don't have the synchronization problem. Yeah, that's true. I just know nothing about actually doing computed columns in the database, and in this particular case, I'm not terribly worried about it. I think we can get away with just kind of keeping it simple. Because again, I'm never going to use this logic in other services unless at some point I need to build some kind of administrative function where I'm saying include anything that is deleted. In which case, we'll just drop the global filter and do our thing. But I think we'll be okay here. So let me open up iAuditable entity. We'll get rid of the Boolean. All right, and let's go ahead and work on our, before we continue fleshing out all the rest of our entities, let's fix that in the context. Okay, so looking at, this is my other work project, where frankly I let Entity Framework's incredible scaffolding do a lot of this work for me. Why do I still have that? That's the other thing about... Okay, so this is where we do that thing. We have to add soft deletes in an override of on-model creating. I wish... There's probably a way to use some kind of reflection to do this automatically. I'm going to look into that. Okay. So let me just copy this to start with. So in here, we have our override of that. That's fine. We're going to have protected void on model creating. That's cool. Let's do this. I don't want to sidetrack backseat. Yeah, that's the problem. But I still don't understand the pros of having two columns. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yet there are ways of mitigating the problems, but why have the problem in the first place? Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. I think you're right. Because for the most part, Entity Framework's going to handle the magic part for us. It's going to, this filter that I'm building right now, we'll just go ahead and build it. So for, ooh, I wonder if you can override, no, probably not. I think we'll have to do all of our overrides here. Get rid of that. Okay, of course. Why is that still there? Take it out, right? I did not. What the hell? Why didn't I take it out of there? I just missed that one. Okay, so back over here. What we're doing now is we're going to say date.deleted has value. Actually, okay. Has query filter. No. Equals null. Right? I think that's all we need. Yeah. So instead of doing is deleted equals false, or has query. Okay. Now I'm getting myself confused. I'm going to look back. Yes, okay, so this is going to add, okay. So what this is doing here is it's adding a where clause to every single query we ever run against the course DB set. Unless we override this, but we'll come back to that. So all we need to do is make sure that the date deleted field is null. And it accomplishes exactly the same thing as having a separate is deleted field. Grumpy Game Dev, I do see what you're saying. You'd also have to manually create link expressions. Maybe. But again, if I ever need to get actually deleted data in code, I mean, we'll deal with that when we come to it. I've never had to before. I do, for the most part, want that data to be considered gone forever. And in this system, it's not going to be that critical. I don't think. I guess we could add an undelete function, maybe. But yeah, it gets hairy too. So I think I'm okay with doing it this way for now. May change my mind. And I also really want to see if there's a better way to do this without having to come back in here every time I add an entity to add this query filter. Like, let me Google that. Entity Framework. I'm gonna actually Google it because Bing is stupid. Entity Framework Core. And hello to people who are popping in and out and whatever. Appreciate y'all coming by. We're having some good talk, good conversation this morning, this afternoon. I am working on an open source learning management system, which you can Git if you want it, or at least follow along at my GitHub. It will be an e-commerce platform and course platform, kind of like Teachable, but not as a service to start with. It'll just be like for one company. So rather than being a platform for other course creators to come in and do their own thing and sell their own courses, this will just be like my company is selling these courses. I do eventually want to add multi-tenancy, but we'll come back to that way down the road. For now, we are wrestling with, or at least I'm wrestling with, handling soft deletes in the most efficient way. So not actually deleting data from the database. Interface. Global. Hey. Hey. How to apply an entity framework core global query filter on all entity types that implement an interface. Okay. All right. So we have that. So yeah, this is how we're doing it now. Basically, that's exactly what we're doing. It's precisely for this. And again, he's using the Boolean. I definitely want to have the date, and if we're going to capture the date anyway, I'm inclined to go with what Metalstorm is pointing out, and that's just use the one field. We can check if it's null. If it's null, it's not deleted. Done. Okay, but here he's illustrating exactly. This is the problem. You have to go through and on model creating and add for every single thing. He's got an iSoft deletable interface. Perfect. Wait, I just read out. Okay. Then you'll make each of your entities implement this interface, and you'll rewrite the query filter like so. And you'll be wrong. Okay, this won't work because EF infers the table to filter based on the type. Okay. So when filtering by an interface. Okay. EF looks at the expression provided, applies it to the entity. For example, in the above code, the soft expression is blah. All we have to do is find every type that implements iSoft deletable and rewrite this expression for each type. Specifically, we need to change the parameter type. What? This is getting nutty. Yeah. Unfortunately, these monsters exist by virtue of us doing soft deletes and auditable entities anyway. I'm going to come back to this because clearly it will do the job that we're after. There's a subtle bug in the original implementation. Okay, yeah, definitely going to come back to that. For now, we'll just do the stupid thing and add it for every single one of our entities. We'll have course lesson, author, lesson attachment. Okay, course lesson attachment, author, person. Okay. Alright, so we have that. We have our soft deletes there. So anything that is deleted by virtue of the date deleted field being set, not null, will now be excluded from every query against any of these DB sets. Now we need to actually implement the soft delete. So when we get something that is soft deletable, change the state back to updated, set the correct date field. I'm gonna come back to that. I don't want to deal with that today. Because we're not going to be doing anything in the database today, so it doesn't matter. But yeah. Okay. So we have our author, we have our foreign key pointing back to person. Okay. What other information do we want to go ahead and include on our author profile. Guess we'll have a description, so this can just be their blurb. We'll do website URL, cool. And then we can add things like social links and all that stuff. I once did a search filter for Entity Framework based on reflection and building Lambda expressions so that I could pass up a filter from JavaScript and map it into something that would filter the database. Like a poor man's OData, it was interesting to find out how the link expression stuff is built. Very cool. But there is a region around it with the RB monsters. Yep. I can imagine. Yeah. I need to get more into that stuff. That's a lot of the. I feel like that's a lot of the power that's in C#, and I just don't know enough about it. Like I can do the basics of building Lambda expressions and such, but well, like even where was it? Was that even in here? No, it was in this project where I have a loan service that has queries in it. And I have this big ass ugly method that with all these optional parameters. And I'm going to do this. I am going to fix this. I could replace, I think, all of this with just a custom predicate. And it does everything for me. And then instead of having to do if bank ID has value, add a where clause. If, well, no. I think I can use custom predicates to do exactly what I'm after with all of this mess. So things like that. Yeah, I need to get more into it. However, for years, I was the only person who would touch the code because nobody else understood it. Yep. I can see that. All right, so let's see. Let's get back to... Again, I'm not going to try to flesh out every single detail. I want to add things like social links and such as that to this. Again, that's all functionality we can flesh out later. I need to get the core entities built so that we can start working on services and adding unit tests against those services. So let's keep moving. Okay, so we have our author, points back to the person. I don't think we need the inverse. But again, Entity Framework Core changed stuff up. So 1, 2, 1. Let's just make sure. Configuring one-to-one relationships. So yeah, author biography. Oh no, this is not one-to-one. This is going to be one-to-one or 0. Because person will not necessarily be an author. Okay. I don't like that. I've done shared primary key stuff before and I don't like it. And I don't trust it. I have no reason not to trust it, but I don't trust it. Let's go back to here. One-to-many navigation properties, many-to-many, one-to-one. A one-to-one or more, usually a 1-to-0 or 1, exists when only one row of data in the principal table is linked to 0 or 1 row. Okay, fine. Which again is right here. So they have author, which will definitely have a biography. Author will definitely have a person. I just got it built. Oh wait, hang on. They only have the navigation property. You know what? I'm not terribly worried about it. And we'll check and make sure. This is where I was saying earlier, I'm going to go ahead after we get this far and I guess I could actually add the, no, I'm on the wrong object. I'm going to go ahead and migrate real quick in just in a second and make sure that the data structure is fleshed out like I want it to. I should never need to start at a person and go to the author. It's kind of like, again, back to that aggregates and aggregate roots idea in, I think it's clean code. I'm not sure what that actually comes from. A person should never exist on its own in the system. It will always either be an author, a student, or both. So as long as the author and the student navigate back to the person, we should be fine. Okay, so looking at this, we have course. Let's start with this. And then we will come back and add our author to our course lessons. Shared primary key can get tricky. I just don't like it. Yeah, I just don't like it. I'm sure it's in normal cases when you're not doing stupid stuff, it's perfectly safe. I just don't like it. I like every table, every object to have a unique ID, even if it means things are more complex than they have to be sometimes. In this case, it's not actually more complex. As they say, it's fine. Yep. All right. So I need to add a migration. This will be for... First of all, I need to make sure this is going to build. It should. No, it's not, because I haven't done anything to add this stuff to a database context. Look at me. All right, let's close some stuff up. We don't need this, right? See, I did too much at once. And now I gotta go do the rest of too much at once. Okay, that's fine. Get rid of this for now. So we have course, context, and course. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, never mind. Oh, this is gonna be simpler. Course, lesson. Because, again, a course lesson should really never exist without its course, so there's no reason to have separate repository implementation to deal with that. Maybe. Lesson attachment. Okay, get set. Alright. Nope. Alright, so we have our DB sets added. Create, select. Ooh. Okay. Courses dot. Need to start. I just want to go ahead and do this. Okay, so what we're doing now is because now we have these child objects that we need to include, and we are never, ever, 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 ever going to use lazy loading again because I hate what it does to everything. P dot course lessons. Yeah. Dot then include. We're just going to go ahead and build this out because we need. Anytime we select a course, we want the lessons, we want the attachments, we want everything ready to go. A horse is a horse, of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course. That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Ed. Okay. P dot course lesson attachments. There we go. All right. And same thing on this. Whoop. Go back. Oh no, I know what Mr. Ed. I'm from deep south. I know Mr. Ed. Yeah. I was trying to think back and figure out what the context might have been, but course. Yeah. Talking about courses. Yeah. Yeah, I grew up watching... I didn't actually watch that much Mr. Ed. I did watch some. But yeah, we watched Hee Haw. We watched all kinds of stuff that most people in the world do not know anything about anymore. Okay. So when we select our course, we're going to include course lessons and then include course lesson attachments. We're also going to come back and include authors, etc., etc. But for now, that should be good. So we have course lessons, course lesson attachments. Okay. That's fine. Okay, so now we need to add another one of these suckers. This will be app db context dot authors or people. Be a public partial class. It's going to be just like this one. Oh, I need to add the interface as well. Control C, Control V. This authors is going to be repository-ish. So create author. This is the right file. Yep. Select author. Select authors. Oh. And update author. Delete author. Okay, so we have that. I'm surprising myself with how much of the Mr. Ed theme song I still have in long-term memory, and I'm from Wisconsin. Wisconsin's fairly rural, so I think, isn't it? Thinking of Wyoming. I think Wisconsin's still fairly rural, though. Maybe I'm wrong. Sorry if I disparaged your home state. Okay, so let me open up app.db context. Go ahead and let it do its thing to implement the missing stuff, which we will then copy. No, you know what? I'm not gonna do it that way, because again, it's all basically identical code. Disparage my own state. Southeastern Wisconsin, in between Milwaukee and Chicago. Cool. Disparage my own state regularly. Yep, I'm from Mississippi. Guess how much I disparage my state. There are good things about Mississippi. Mostly driving through it. But that's okay. Alright, let's copy all of this, because I don't like retyping stuff. This DB set is going to be for authors. To bring in some stuff. Nope, it's going to be author, which is in core entities. I need to bring in async stuff and Oh, I know why it's doing that. Okay, so this is the same thing. So create author. And that. And that. So hello again to the folks in the chat. I'm guessing we're still having some churn. So just in case you don't know what I'm doing right now, we'll fix that in a second. I am working on an open source learning management system. Yeah. And what we're doing today is we're fleshing out some of the entities and like visiting Mississippi. I've actually been to neither Hernando nor Senatobia. I'll come back. Yeah, I probably should. But anyway, not gonna. Not for now. I need it. But yeah, I guess I could just wait for somebody to ask if they're actually interested in what's going on. I just hate to just be typing away on stupid crap and nobody knows why I'm doing it. So to finish the thought, and then I won't reiterate it again unless somebody asks, I'm working on fleshing out some of the database entities in the system. So the database, what goes into the database. And then we're going to add a business service if I have time and start unit testing. But I need to focus if I'm going to get there. You know what? You're right. Twitch stats closed. All right. Yeah, just have to get used to the stream of consciousness babble that we do when streaming live coding. Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm still getting used to that idea in general, and like I want there to be people, and I want to see when there's people, and I want to know if I'm talking to myself in particular and no one else. But even then, Twitch stats are out of sync sometimes, often, especially at low numbers, so there's just no point looking at it. So you are correct. Twitch stats is now closed. Alright. Why is this fussing? Let me go fix the rest of this. Author, because that's going to drive me crazy. Delete author, update author. Fine. Oh, that's why it's fussing. Author. This is the hazard of copying and pasting. Still easier than doing all of it, I guess. This will be authors. Has no tracking. All we need to include on this. We will need to include that. For now, we'll need to include the person. And okay, so we're getting there. Authors. Do. Add. Okay. All right. No more red, so I'm gonna think it's good. The one thing I need to add that's not already in here is the DB set for persons. I'm trying to decide where to do that. I think I might do that in the actual app DB. Yeah, the core app DB context. What? Why is that fussing? Does not implement create author async. Yeah, it does. Oh, no. I think I'm missing something. Okay, it's fussing about something. What's it fussing about? App DB context. Oh, because I forgot to do this. Stupid copy pasting. Okay. I get it, you're excited, you want to be successful, but you aren't really streaming until you realize that you've been babbling at exactly no one for a full hour and you feel it was a really good stream. Hey, you know what? Good way of looking at it. Cool. Okie dokie. That should make this stop fussing. Nope, that should make this stop fussing. Yes, good. Chismo, my cat has been beside me watching for after 20 minutes. She's absolutely fascinated. I'm glad somebody's fascinated. That's awesome. All right. Now what I need to do, populate with cats. There we go. Which is ironic, because I really don't like cats in real life. I love kittens, but because kittens are cute, and they sleep, and they snuggle, and then kittens turn into assholes. I'm fine. Cats are fine. We just don't have them. I still kind of want... I still kind of want a Maine Coon. Like, they're just so gorgeous. Good God. They're stunning cats. And from what I've read, they're almost more like dogs than some cats. So, I don't know. I just gotta talk my wife into it one day. And I'm probably not going to be able to, because we like non-shedding animals. And the only non-shedding cats I've seen... No. Not interested. Alright. I'm sorry to offend my first subscriber. I apologize. Okay, so we need to add the person DB set in a place that makes sense. So... Oh. Always taxidermy. Yeah. Just no comment. Let's go with that. Okay, so we need a DB set for this. I guess it can just go there. Person. People. I hate saying persons. Alright. So we have that. Now, okay, we added our entities. We have author, course, course lesson attachment, and person. We have that there. We have... And I will probably never, ever remember again that that's where this is. But I'm not adding a separate file for one line that says DB set person people. It's not going to do it. God, should I? Nah. Not going to do it. Alright. We have our authors. We have all of our course stuff. Courses, course lesson attachments. Everything that's defined so far. Okay. And then let's do our migration. So we're going to add a migration. And this is going to be... course lessons and authors. Let's see if that works. Probably not. 50-50, we have a build error. Nope, build succeeded. Perfect, okay. So we have our migration, and now what I want to make sure of in this migration is that the author and person relationship is done like I need it to. So people as its primary key, that's fine. We don't need a navigation property, that's so we don't, nothing to worry about there. Course lessons, where's my authors table? Okay. Authors. And authors has a foreign key back to people, on delete, cascade, perfect. Alright. I think we're good. I think that's going to work. Alright. Cool. Next, I need to add authors to course lessons, which is going to be a many-to-many relationship. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to need a new entity for that. Again, I'm going to reference back to many-to-many because book category. There we go. Entity Framework Core handles many-to-many relationships differently than what? Without configuration via Fluent API. Okay. There was a little more magic in Entity Framework 6 and below. I'm not sure how far back. There was a little more magic for handling many-to-many relationships. You actually didn't have to define the join table. It actually did create it, but it didn't, in your code, it did not exist as a separate entity. That does not work in Entity Framework Core. I want to say it might again, but I'm not positive. I can't remember exactly. I know they are still working on many-to-many relationships in Entity Framework Core, especially in version 5, I think. I don't think they're going to I don't think they're going to go back to that magic way of doing it where you have this invisible table that exists in your database. Because no matter what, you have to have a join table for many-to-many relationships in SQL Server at least, and most other database providers. So, I need to make sure I get it right. So basically, yeah. So in this case, we're going to have author and we're going to have course lesson. Each will have a list of book categories. Author course lessons. Okay. All right, so we'll start with that. I'm going to pop this over here. Find this interesting because I always do DB first. Okay, and instead of code first, even in EF Core, which calls it reverse engineering. Yeah. In terms of, because I am particularly lazy about database stuff. I know that's horrific to say, but and I also just don't know enough about configuring database itself to do it correct. I'm getting gasps all around the gallery today. I don't know enough to configure everything optimally in database if I'm designing a database manually. And I'm sure there are tools and ways to do that it handles a lot of that for me. But I've just always done code first. So I did reverse engineer that other project I was showing, the Radiant project, because it was started out in Entity Framework 4 and eventually ended up in 6. And there were so many changes in naming conventions and like for foreign keys and so many changes from Entity Framework 4 to Entity Framework Core 3 that I couldn't just wire it up. I couldn't just start with a fresh context and point it and say and everything was good. So I used Entity Framework Core scaffolding to reverse engineer it back into a proper DB context with all the crazy rules to account for old conventions. And it worked. But yeah, normally I just do code first. I think in code, not in database structure, for the most part. I know enough about database design to be careful about over normalization and stuff like that, but all the other stuff, and I could probably have much more performant systems if I was more aware of proper indexing and things like that, but it's just never been an issue so far. Jamie just subscribed. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. You are subscriber number 2. That's awesome, man. Thank you so much. And that's fine for many applications to do code first and approach it as a programmer. Yep. That's what I love about Entity Framework. Yeah, use my face. Yeah, that's what I love about Entity Framework. There was another, okay, so the other big one that I've seen people talk about is Dapper, which is just basically writing your own SQL. I'm sure it does more than that, but it's not just ADO.NET. But there was another one I saw called, I think it was called Repo, and I've got it pinned somewhere or bookmarked on Twitter or something that I want to look at that's kind of in between. Because Entity Framework is pretty heavy. But I like that. It just does everything that I need it to do for me. You have to know some tricks. You have to be very careful, especially in current Entity Framework Core. Heyo! I will be live Friday. Come back then. No, I'm kidding. Use your Prime sub wherever you want to use it. But yeah, you definitely have to be aware of some tricks you have to do with Entity Framework Core, or at least things you have to be aware of. Like, it doesn't currently, what am I trying to say? When you build complex join queries, so like this one, right now it's not complex. It's just 2 levels of includes. No, it's not a big deal. But let's say I flesh this out and I have massive join queries like that. In Entity Framework, before Core, it would break that into smaller queries so that were much more performant. In Entity Framework Core, it just builds one query. And if that query is 200 lines long and it takes 3 seconds to execute for every time you hit the database, that's on you. They are working on that. That will be fixed, but I don't know. There's trade-offs. When you use magic, you have to be aware of what the magic does. And yeah, that's a good point. In real life, I make heavy use of views. That's actually a really good point. I need to look into. I want to say Entity Framework does stuff with views. It can do stuff with views. I need to look into that because that's a problem I have. I don't know if I'll run into it so much in this system, but like in Radiant, I'll have queries that join 15 tables together, like to create what ultimately amounts to a flat object. I mean, because I just need to be able to access all the various properties. So I need to look into that. Okay. Definitely rambling stream of consciousness today. Stream of consciousness. Yeah, that's right. So what we need to do now, we're creating our many-to-many relationship. I need to create my entity, which will be author course lesson. That is the entity. That will have... All this is going to have is, and this is not going to be an auditable entity, it will have prop. Always start with prop. Author ID. Okay. We'll also have the author itself as a navigation property. Gah. And it will have the course lesson ID. And almost did it again. Okay, so we have our IDs and we have our navigation properties connecting author to course lesson. This will support, this is for one such relationship. Okay. Now we need to go back to our author, and we're going to have a collection of author course lesson. We'll call this course lessons. Yeah. And we will initialize that. Just in case. I'm not sure we actually have to, but we're gonna. This dot course lessons equals new hash set course. See, that's the problem. When you use shorter names that are less descriptive. All right. Okay, so there's that, and now in our course lesson, we add the opposite. We're gonna have what? Oh, that's attachments. Sorry. All right, public collection of author course lesson. This will be authors. Okay. Authors equals new hash set of author course lesson. Perfect. Okay. So we've wired all of that up like we need it. And then we have to come back to on model creating. Because what it's doing is it's creating a composite key. And that's I think really where the problem is in Entity Framework Core. It doesn't have the magic for creating composite keys, maybe. I don't know. But we just come in and we define all the various stuff. So in our AppDB context, we come back to on model creating. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and slap this into a region. I think you can do that. Okay. Okay. And we'll have this. We'll do another region. Many. Too many's. Okay. Do that. Do this, that. All right, now we fix this. Okay, so many to manys, entity, book category, has key. Okay, that's author, course lesson. Yeah. Okay. Silicon Orchid is rating with a party of 10. Holy crap. Hello, Layla Codesit. Hello, Silicon Orchid. I appreciate you folks popping in. Working on... Hey, White Panther, how are you doing? Doing some... I started to say cool stuff. I would be lying. I am working on fleshing out the entity model for the open source learning management system that I am developing live on Twitch. And I think we're about done with the entity stuff, and depending on time, because I've already been going, yeah, we should have time. I'm going to start the first business logic service. Hello, Cryptic Enigma. Hello, Copper Beardy. Oh, the fam's here. Awesome. Appreciate y'all showing up. Yeah, so cool. Stuart the Coder. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that subscription. That is awesome. Thank you so much. And yes, you have access to my face now, and we'll have more soon. If anybody is... Yeah, we'll come back to that. Never mind. Yeah, up to 3 subs now. That's awesome. And Grumpy Game Dev teased that his Twitch Prime is open tomorrow. But you don't have to use it on me. But you should, because you teased it. Okay, cool. All right, so we are configuring many-to-many relationships in Entity Framework Core, because what else do you do on Wednesday afternoon at 1:37? Has key is going to be a composite of author, and there we go. P dot course lesson ID. There we go. If the first are gone by then, no dice. If I'll only sub for the first batch. Oh, no, man, I think you'll be fine. I think you'll be fine. I don't know how many there actually are, but there are only 3 subscribers so far, so I think you'll be safe. Yeah. All right. And author course lesson has one. Oh, see, this is the hazard of copying and pasting. P. Author. Yes. With what? Okay. First 10. Nice. Okay. Has one author with many. Oh. I see what we're doing. Okay. Yeah. Author. Course lessons. Yes. One author with many course lessons has foreign key book ID. Okay. Looking back at the example code that I'm working from, because I've started changing what I copy and pasted, and it's confusing me. Has foreign key author ID. That's it. Okay. I think we're getting there now. Author course lesson also has one. Just getting my parameter names consistent. All right. So it will also have, now from the other side, it will have a course lesson, which has many course lessons. Nope, it has many authors. Oh. Yes. Yes, that's right. Okay. Just naming is throwing me off. P. Course lesson ID. Right. So we have author course lesson has one author with many course lessons, which are the author course lesson join table objects. And it has a foreign key to that table of author ID. Yes. Now we have one course lesson, which yes, which has many authors. Has many course. Okay, sorry. This is exceptionally boring, but I appreciate y'all coming in. Yeah. So let me just slog through this real quick, and we'll get something more interesting. With many. Okay. No, that's right. Authors, yes. And has a foreign key of course lesson ID. I think that's right. Holy Jesus, I hope it's right. Okay. There's that. I think that's right. Yeah. This is a good place to define indexes on your table too. Probably. But I ain't gonna. Because brain is already fried. I have not had food. And I don't know how to do it. So but I tell you what, so you're saying indexes on the many-to-many relationships itself, or just in on-model creating in general? To do, not YOFO. To do, find indexes. We were just talking. I was talking with on the fields that you'll be searching. Oh, I got you. Cool. Yeah, that's a good point. I was just talking with the Grumpy Game Dev earlier. I definitely know enough to be dangerous in database. certainly know enough to do some cool stuff with SQL itself. But I definitely do not know enough about optimizing queries based on indexes and setting all that stuff up. So I will make the note there, and I will definitely look into it, because certainly that's something we can focus on here, but not today. Okay. I think we should be able to do another migration now that will add authors to courses. Also make a note to watch a Brent Ozar stream. Who's Brent Ozar? Everything's learning curve. Yep, just keep doing what you're doing. Yep, definitely. That's the point of this project, actually. This whole project is combining a whole bunch of crap that I either don't know at all yet, or I know so little of that I just haven't had a chance to use it in a real system. So, yeah, it's a learning project as we go. Before I continue, for all the other folks who might still be hanging out, thank you again. Here's the GitHub. That's where you'll find the repo for this project. It's CoreLMS. And if you are interested in more of the sort of goals and behind the scenes and all that stuff, I have started sort of journaling it over at the dev community, which is a fantastic community. And there's that link. So, cool. All right, back to migration. I think we are ready. Okay, so authors to courses. So we're adding a migration for authors to courses lessons. Let's be explicit. Okay. Still on the code screen, right? Yep. Good. Hope. Hey, build succeeded, so that we didn't break anything there. Author course lessons. Perfect. That's our table. It has a primary key comprised of the composite author ID and course lesson ID. Wonderful. Has foreign keys back out to the correct places. All right, that looks good. I think we're good there. Okay, so popping over to not that, to this. Okay, so we have now. We've created our course. We've created our lesson. We've created our attachment objects. We've created our author. We have. Oh, I can't even say. I was trying to say. Nuclear. There we go. How are you finding EF so far? It looks like you've been making great progress in this project. Oh, I love Entity Framework. I have used it in one professional project before, and it started with Entity Framework 4 and evolved ultimately to Entity Framework 6. There's some learning curve going from 6 to Core, especially if you're trying to migrate older systems. But I love it. I love Entity Framework Core. I want to stay in code always, and I love how it wraps it up. I am having fun playing with, and I think I mentioned this on one of Layla's streams, that one of the patterns that I still am just iffy on is the repository pattern, especially with Entity Framework, because it is a repository. Yeah, well, Entity Framework, the context is a unit of work, and it contains the repositories, which are your DB sets. So why would I build another layer on top of that? But I found a really cool middle ground, and that's how we're doing it here. So first of all, I split my app.db context into multiple partial classes. So we have our DB set, and we just add repository-like methods, let's say, directly to our DB context. So we still interact with it as if it was a repository, instead of manually adding directly to and from the DB context, or it helps us. We can use sort of centralized querying if we need to, all that kind of stuff. So that's my middle ground on this project for dealing with the repository pattern. But yeah, in general, I love Entity Framework Core. It's fantastic. But anyway, okay, so, and I just, again, let me pull up the correct screen so you can see what I was just talking about. Yes, so we have our DB set, and then we have our repository-like methods that help us avoid directly using the context. If I ever decided to get rid of Entity Framework, yes, It would be a pain in the ass. I would still have to go fix that. But I just don't see it. I don't imagine a scenario, at least for this project. And that's what I'll do, is kind of take it on a project by project basis. And if I ever foresee there being a chance of needing to replace Entity Framework with some other system, with Dapper or Repo or whatever, fine. But there's so much you can do with Entity Framework. I can use basically any SQL platform, SQL server type that I'm ever going to need. So why would I move away from it? I don't know. That's my thinking on it, in any case. Okay, so back to our objects. We have our course, lesson, and attachment. I am on the right screen. We have our many-to-many relationship defined. We have our author defined, and we have our person defined. So I think we're good so far. Or no SQL. That'll actually be, yeah. I don't know if I'll get a chance to play with it in this project. But certainly other. Tinkerpot Gremlin. I have no idea what you're talking about there. Oh, I do want to make a note. Who was that you told me? Brent Ozar stream. I'm going to make a note about that. Anyway, on NoSQL, yeah, I definitely want to play with NoSQL, and on the fintech system that I'm developing, it's going to be important that I have some kind of solution along those lines. Because kind of like I was talking about with some of the performance issues with building large join queries in Entity Framework Core right now. This was before Entity Framework Core. If I need to export 10,000 loans that comprise 15 join tables, which some of them, I mean, they do, that's an expensive query to run. So what I want to do is start using either a NoSQL solution, something built on like Azure Cosmos DB, or either like maybe Redis Search or Elasticsearch to flatten those objects out into JSON documents, basically, so that when I need to do a lot of work on those massive data sets, it's already flattened for me. But in this case, that's not going to be the primary persistence model, so I'm still not worried too much about going, full hog on Entity Framework. Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm happy with the entities that we've created for today, and it is coming up on 2 hours streaming. I'm gonna go for a little longer, because I really want to get the first service started. May not get to unit testing today, but we'll see. So come back over here. Code. All right. So services. If anybody ever sees me write a database query directly in the MVC project, I want you to reach through the screen and slap me. Because that's just dumb. Every business logic, every bit of business logic, and as far as I'm concerned, that means every bit of database. Oh, a GraphDB. Never heard of that. I'll have to look into that. Just put the SA password in. Oh, sorry, I missed a chat. Cryptic Enigma. I like the specification pattern sitting over EF, allowing you to keep business logic in your core. I'll have to look into that too. And then just put the SA password in chat. Not sure what you mean about that. Well, I'm having less success with it today. I'm getting more distracted by chat, but I appreciate that. This is like week 3 of streaming ever. So we learn, we grow, we get better, etc. Specification pattern on EF. Okay, cool. Mostly a matter of disabling that part of your brain that stops you from talking everything you think. I'm going to get myself in trouble, particularly... Oh, Layla, if you're still around, you'll love this. I had a gin martini for the first time in years last night. It was so good. And I am such a lightweight, because one martini, and then I tried to come code. Let's say it wasn't my most productive 2 hours. But to Grumpy Game Dev's point, I'm actually kind of worried, because I do tend to ramble, and just start saying shit, and I'm kind of scared about what might come out of my mouth one of these days. Mellow coding. Yep, there you go. It was the first time I've had, what was it? Drumshambo, I think is what it's called. Yeah, the Irish gunpowder gin. Oh, so good. Okay. Services. We're gonna get a service written. Well, started. Quick question asking for a friend. Is there such a thing as too many Bluetooth headsets? Is it more than one Bluetooth headset per head? That would be the tipping point. Yep. I only have, well, I have this one, and I have one for workouts. That's just like more waterproof and stuff. I love these. These are the best headphones I've ever owned. Surface headphones 2. But yeah. Okie dokie. Let's do some service stuff. So I'm going to close up my entities. I am going to need an interface. And this will be, we're going to start with the course service, of course. Of course. Wired forever. I like, because see, I have drawing boards all over the room, and I have other computers across the room. And that's the only thing that bothers me about wireless is that I have to charge it. But other than that, I love it. Yeah. Okay. So let's add an interface. It will be the iCourse service interface. Perfect. Public. All right. What will this course service do? Well, everything's going to be async. So we'll have public task and let me ask what you guys think. And yeah, I can't charge it. I can just drag a USB cable up and charge it. Let me ask you guys what you think about this before I get too far down the rabbit hole. The other model that I've never really followed is using using DTOs or data transfer objects, so that, for instance, if I pass an entity all the way down to the UI, maybe there's data on that I don't want to be exposed in the UI. I don't want overposting problems, and so DTOs. I'm not. Yeah, Grumpy Game Dev. I will write the test first. Right now, I'm just doing the interface, which will then implement with not implemented. You'll see what I mean. And then we'll be able to start doing the test. Test before interface. I don't wanna. That's interesting. I'm curious about that. Because the interface to me is just it's the contract. Obviously, clearly, interface doesn't do anything. And at least the way that I've seen unit tests built in C# and look, I'm exceptionally new to unit testing. I have done 2 in my entire life, maybe 3. Certainly in C#. Building the tests, at least as far as I can remember, requires that you have something to mock and build test to. So, how do you know what the interface needs to look like until you have a demonstrated need with a test? That's a good point. Okay. It won't build to be sure. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Can we start? Can we start a Twitch follower strike? What do we want? Test. When do we want it? Before interface. But it drives the interface. I gotcha. That makes sense. Okay, Silicon Orchid using a DTO for the UI separate to an entity model technically lets you decouple your app, which arguably makes it easier to change the UI around in the future. Yeah, and that's the problem I want to avoid, is all the mapping you have to then do. Except if I want to avoid overposting attacks and things like that, I still have to, like, I can't use AutoMapper and just go stick it in there. I certainly can't add a posted entity directly into the database, as in an HTTP posted. So I still have to end up doing manual updates of entities, but okay. All right, Grumpy Game Dev. I like your advice. Boundary between the services and the UI are a bounding context. Yes, between the two domains. Yeah. That makes sense. AutoMapper takes a lot of heat out of all the boilerplate code, yeah, but it's still faff, yeah. Depends how big the project is going to be. I'm not so much worried about big as I am correct demonstration. Because like I said, I want this to be a learning project, so I do want to... Learning for me and for anybody who takes part in it at any point. So I want to learn the right way to do some of these things much better than I know now. Case in point, writing a test before you even have an interface. All projects are the same size, bigger than you think. Yeah, that's a really good point. So, and then yeah, I don't want to lead other developers who are likewise catching up on best practices and patterns. I don't want to lead them down the wrong path if I slap AutoMapper in there and it's not ideal for a situation. So I'll have to think through that some more and do some more digging and research. Okay. So if we're going to write the test first, that means we need to come into our test project. I can close WebMVC because we will not need that. I won't need persistence, I don't think. Let's just get kind of chopped down here. Entity model, a C# GTO, and then quite possibly a SPA model in JS. Ah, that's a good point. Good point. How long is a piece of string? I don't know, Deflux. Okay. Like talking in code. Yeah. That's what we do. We're software developers. Okay. Alright, so if we're gonna jump into unit tests, I know I need to add some stuff. So let's manage NuGet packages. And I've got XUnit, that's cool, I need that. I know I'm going to need mock. Add that. Okay. I don't know if using stuff like Blazor takes the pain out of all those separate... That's a good point, because I do want to play with Blazor in this project. You guys are like using AKR as like a jumper for EAA version 2.4, so pulling the DUAs before the JPN hops. Yeah. I don't know if using stuff like Blazor takes the pain out of all those separate models. I think it might, but I've not worked with Blazor yet to tell you. Yep. Hey, I think I've got your face too. Should still have your face. I have Fritz, I have Emma, I have Lana, TLW, Layla. Hey, no, I don't have your face. I have your robot and Layla's waffles. Ooh, sorry, waffles. I'm not sure if that's a point of contention. Okay, I'm letting myself get distracted because I'm scared. Because I'm not confident in any way, shape, or form with unit testing. Just get that out in the open. Okay. Oh yeah, no problem, Shizmo. Get over there. I'm gonna go a little bit longer, and I'll try to pop in. But yeah, I need to get this done, especially while I have the Grumpy Game Dev to help me get through it. But appreciate you sticking around, watching. Have a good one, Shizmo. And Jamie, if you're still around, I assume you're leaving too. So cool. Appreciate you being here, man. Okay, so we have mock. We need fluid insertions. because I like fluent assertions. Cryptic Enigma is now following. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. At least you have a cool top on. I like crafts. Distraction succeeded. Okay, so we're adding fluent assertions. And I need to look it back up because I don't remember what it was called or how you use it. So I'm not going to worry about it today. But there is a really cool package that does... I think it's called autofiller. Actually, autofiller. Is that right? Object filler. Dynamics, that's the one. I'm not going to mess with it today, but I will at some point. Because it's really cool. It lets you, it just randomly fills your test objects so you don't have to deal with it. And that's awesome. Okay, so I have mock, I have fluent assertions. I think that's all I need. 50 code things, right, dude? Just, oh, 8 o'clock. Absolutely, man. I need food too, actually. It's 2 o'clock here and I haven't had breakfast or lunch because just one of those days. But absolutely, man. I appreciate the raid. Thank you so much. That was my very first raid. So thank you for that. And you got me another subscriber, so that's cool. Appreciate you coming by. Enjoy your sustenance, and y'all have a good one. Okay. I think that's enough NuGet packages and enough delaying the inevitable. So what we're going to do, we're going to add a new folder. This will be service tests for services. Sorry. And the first class we're gonna have... Is there an X unit? I don't know if there's an X unit scaffold. It doesn't matter, but anyway. Okay. This is going to be course service test. All right. Now what? You have a course service. What does a course service have to do? It gives a list of courses. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So we have that. I'm trying to remember what an X unit class looks like. So let me again. I'm going to cheat and just pull up previous project. What was that? Visual Studio. Just so I'm not also wrestling with syntax, I can reference back to that. This is in test drive TDD, which I need to continue fleshing out anyway. So I'll do that later. Alrighty. You come over here. And I'm looking at my tests. Dealer service tests. Okay, there we go. So, need a cheat thing? Well, anyway, I give you permission to cheat, but only with code there. Yeah, because my wife is probably watching, and I would never consider. That's just, yeah, no. Not even something to joke about. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add, and we'll come back. So, yes, fact. We start with fact. Good. And this will be a public async task. Right. Yeah, because, okay, yeah, this is, yeah, it's async task instead of void. Okay, duh. All right, so what's the first test going to be? First test is going to be get courses should return list of courses. Probably overly verbose, but there we go. All right. So there is the first test. What is it fussing about up here? Public. Oh, that makes sense. Public. All right. There we go. It gets. Hello, Sabria. See, told you my wife was watching. Okay. It gets a list of courses. That should be my motto. What should be my motto, baby? Told you my wife was watching. Okay, I like that language. We'll go with that. It gets a list of courses. Okay. So as the first nominal case, gets a list of courses. All right. To get a list of courses. So let me go ahead because it's making me itch. I'm going to add I'm going to add our mock because we'll need a mock of IAppDB context. AppDB context mock. And we'll fix that. And then we're also going to need course service. Okay. Add reference to CoreLMS.core. Okay. Probably overly verbose. Oh. That should be. Man, she's coming in hot. Okay. Yeah. I do like to talk. I will say that. Okay. Grubby Game Dev, also called subject under test. You just mean for like the what do you mean? It gets a list of courses, also called subject under test. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean. Sorry. Okay, so we have that. Let's go ahead and get our constructors. We initialize those. This.appdb context mock equals new mock of IAppDB context. No. Also, course service under test. Okay, so just like a more generic naming scheme, I suppose. Course service under test or subject. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna stick with course service. Like I said, I'm gonna have a different. Yeah. Oh, it's TDD terminology. Okay. Well, then I'm not gonna stick with it. I'm gonna learn the right way to do it. That's the whole point of this project. So subject. Come to it your own way. Yeah. I mean, and I will. Where I think it's important, but at the same time, like I said, I want to learn the right way to do this, and I certainly want anybody who tries to learn from me how to do this. I want them to learn the right way to do it. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to follow all your suggestions, man. You are being incredibly helpful here, and I need to really get further into. I need to actually learn more about TDD beyond Red Green Refactor. Yeah. Okay, so we have that, and then this .subject is going to be a new. Well, can't do that yet. Because we don't even have. Actually, I guess I could just go ahead and create it. That would solve that problem. I'm going to go ahead and create the class for the service without anything in it. Course. Yeah, it just won't compile. I hate red, so I can at least do this much, and hopefully it doesn't violate the pattern, but it will implement course service, which is going to be in what? Oh, that makes sense. I don't have a reference to core yet. Okay, so that's it. That's all we're going to have. Stub class. There you go. Okay. So now I can do this .subject is going to be a new course service. Nope. And we're going to pass it the app. Right? Yeah. Okay. Need to bring in that reference. And okay, I will go ahead and add the constructor here because I know I'm going to need app.db context. DB. Okay, that's all we do. No logic written. But now can I convert from app.db context? What? Why is it already fussing? Did I generate a separate DB? I did. What the hell did I do? Get rid of that. What the? I hit the wrong auto button. Okay, now we're good. All right, constructor setup. I think we're getting somewhere. All right, so the model for arranging unit tests I like is given, when, then. But I believe it's more traditionally called arrange, act, assert. Okay, so it gets a list of courses. So, given, there's not really is there a given? No, because I'm just asking the, yeah, more non-program approachable, yep. That's what I liked about it. But yeah. Okay, so is there a given? Is there a setup? Oh, well, duh. That makes sense. See, the roadblock I have, the biggest roadblock I have, is that, and this is old and it's a stupid attitude to have about unit testing, is I still struggle to remember why it's so important. It's like, well, I wrote the logic. Of course it's going to pull back the list. Duh, that's what it does. So even breaking down past that, like, okay, so then how do I write a test to do something that my brain is already telling me is a waste of time? I just start, I don't know, I lose it. Okay, so what we need to do then is add some data to the database. Well, to our mock database. It's useful. Yes, it's not useful now. It's useful later. Exactly. As I proved to myself in a different project that had unit tests, and I broke something, and the unit test saved my ass. It's useful later, which is useful now, when now happens to be later. Exactly. Okay, so given this might be where having dynamics already set up would be good, but we won't do that. Start with the assert. Okay. Oh boy, I'm looking like an ass today. All right, so what are we going to assert? I'm going to assert first that the actual list of courses equals the expected list of courses. I'm going to assert that the database context was called once, or that the database method to select services or select courses from the database was called once. DB was hit once, and no more. I don't want secondary queries causing problems. Yeah. Okay. All right, so when is going to be, you say a list, list of course actual courses is going to be what we get when we await subject dot get courses async. Oh, well, you said start. Yeah, you said start with the assert, and I wrote the comments. I didn't actually assert. Okay, so let's do that. So this is where we'll do fluent assertions because we have a list of complex objects. So we'll say actual courses should yeah, that's right. Dot be equivalent to. We'll have an expected courses, which is going to fuss at me about first. Nope, that's it. All right, and that's it. Is there not? What is the? There we go. Expectation string because no. I'll play with that later. That should work. Okay. So our act is to simply call the service. Perfect. So now we need to arrange it. So now we need to set up our expected courses, make sure that the mock database context returns those courses. I think. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we're going to start with a list of courses. Expected courses. New list of course. And we will add a couple. And I guess it actually doesn't matter here if we flesh out the course object fully. Maybe you disagree, Grumpy Game Dev. So our course has course lessons. Our course lessons have course attachments. We have a course lesson will also have authors. For this test, where we're just testing for equivalency to make sure, and I guess we want to make sure our service doesn't manipulate, doesn't break something. And obviously, again, in this case, it's a simple list. It's a simple pull. But what we want to ultimately make sure of is that our business logic is not doing something that we don't expect it to. So mostly we're looking that it returns how many of us something we expect. Okay. So we'll have a new course. We'll give it okay. So keeping it stupidly simple, we're just going to do this, and we'll add two. Okay, and then we need to arrange our mock, right? Yeah. So that's gonna be this dot app db context mock dot setup. db dot select courses async. Dot returns. Nope. What's it not liking? Oh, like that. All right. Dot returns. Missing a. There we go. Oh. Two is a list. Yep. This is one of the things I'm going to struggle with. And have struggled with my entire life. I hate looking stupid, and which means I should probably just sit in my room and do nothing if that's really my biggest fear and I can't face that fear. I need to learn to face it. I need to be willing to look stupid. And I'm not saying I look completely stupid here. To an expert, I would, I'm sure, like Grumpy Game Dev. But it still throws me off my game when I feel completely unprepared. And that's my fault. That's not my fault. That's a thing I need to overcome. And that's something I hope to eventually build a community around, is helping people to overcome that as well. Helping people to face what they don't know and work their way through learning it. So thank you for sticking around and putting up with me looking like an idiot. Okay, so returns async, and it's going to be... Okay, so I'm not... yes. There you go. Looking stupid is to do a copy of the list returned from the mock. Do a copy of the list. Oh. Okay, this should not be... This should be database courses. Okay, I like that better. Because yeah, there's what's actually going to be in the database, and that's what we're defining. There's what the database returns, and then there's what the service returns. Those are three separate things. Okay. Also, I have to teach my team this stuff starting next week, so hey, there you go. Well, glad I can help in some way. Okay. So... Strothj. My two struggles I'm working on, as denoted by the sticky note on my monitor, are 1, no rewrites, 2, humbleness. Well, there you go. No rewrites. Ugh, I wouldn't survive as a developer if I couldn't rewrite shit. Alright. Okay, so what were you actually saying there? Do a copy of the list returned from the mock. Alright, so I need to finish this first. So returns async is technically going to return database courses. Okay. That sets up the mock. So when select courses async, which is what our service is ultimately going to use, is called, it's going to give back the database courses list that we created in arrangement. Do a copy of the list returned from the mock. May have to explain that. Sorry, I'm not sure what you mean by do a copy of the list returned from the mock. I do know that almost more for idiomatic purposes, just for language purposes, expected courses should technically be different from database courses. New... Oh! New list of database courses. New list, yeah. Is what your returns async should do. A copy of the list returned from the mock. Ah. Can you do... Is that syntax? Oh. Is that what you mean? No, that can't be right. List of course. Can you... Am I stupid? Did I not know you could copy a list that way? Huh. Cool. Now, here's a question. Is it a referential copy, or does it actually clone the object? I'm assuming it's referential. Which is fine, because we end up creating a truly separate, I think. List is an enumerable. Don't know if the courses are the same objects. Okay, so... Does database courses, does it have a clone? No, it doesn't have. Crap. Alright, we'll go with that for now. I am going to research that, because I do want to make sure that that I don't end up, again, not with this particular one, Hey, maybe do a select on the courses and copy those. There you go. We'll go with this for now. I do want to research more into, because I don't want to, obviously if we're just comparing the same copy of the list everywhere, including in actual courses, because again, we're mocking what the service is going to do, then it means nothing, because of course it will always be equivalent, because it will be identical, which would actually mean we don't even need to do equivalent to, because we could just use the equality operator. But how do we do that? Database courses dot select p. Do we need to select to list? I wonder if we do that. I wonder if to list generates a separate one. We'll give it a shot. Do the cheap and easy, serialize and deserialize. Hey, there you go. Do a select on the courses and copy those. We'll start with this for now. But I do want to research that. Cloning objects. I want to research that more effectively. Okay, so we have our database courses that we've arranged. We have set up our mock repository method to return that from the database, or return hopefully a true copy of the database courses. And then in act, we ask the service for a list of courses, which will ultimately call this. And then we assert that the actual course should be equivalent to the expected course. We'll go ahead and say app db context.mock.verify db.select courses async times dot once. Fine. I'm not going to give it a separate message, and I'm going to validate verify no other. Where is it? There we go. Alright, so it only called select courses async and nothing else. Okay. Okay, so I think we're ready to actually go at least get the interface built and scaffold the method. Unless you disagree, Grumpy Game Dev. You're in the driver's seat, apparently. Yep, okay, so yay, here we go. Alright, so the first method is going to be public, whatever the hell I named it, because I've already forgotten. Get courses async. Yeah, that makes sense. It'll be a task list, because now we know what we're expecting back. Makes perfect sense. I like that. That helps me to think through it. So how do we know what the contract should do without knowing what the need is, and the test defines the need. Don't need public in an interface. Yeah, I guess. It's habit more than anything, I guess. And actually, until C#8, apparently, you couldn't even put public in the interface. So, yeah. I guess that means you... Well, I guess if C# now, if C#8 allows public, does it mean that it can allow private interface methods, which doesn't make sense at all because it's supposed to be a contract. Getting off topic. All right, get courses async. All right, very simple method. Nope, course service test. Okay. we need to fix that. Okay, so we'll fix that. Get courses async. Get courses async. Okay, so that's the first method there. And now this is fussing because we don't have it implemented. So we implement the interface. So now it stops fussing. So our tests should have no more squigglies. And now, excuse me, we need to run the test to see it go red. I don't have my test window open. That would help. All right. I want this down here. And we'll... That's not what I wanted at all. That's what I wanted. Pin it, pop it back up. Okay. First test failed. Which is exactly what we expect. Gets a list of courses. Method operation is not implemented. Hey, look at there. So we have red. Okay, so now we simply so in the course. Okay, so I do need to initialize this and capture it. There we go. And the service method is simply going to, after we add async, we are going to return. Actually, gonna make it super clean. Oh wait. DB courses. Oh. Oh, okay. Repository pattern saved me. I was dang sure about to directly access the DB set and mess with it. So no, it should do select courses async. Damn it. Okay. That's it. That's all it has to do. And now we go back to our test and we run it again. Is that right? I think that's right. We'll see. Yay, green. It gets a list of courses. All right. Cool. Yes. That's it. So our first service method is written. We did it the right way by defining the need, the thing we need our interface and or that we need our service to do. We define that in the test, the test-driven way. Then we implemented our interface and the method without an implementation. Saw it go red. Implemented the very simple call from the database and saw it go green. Cool. Awesome. Folks, I am starving. And that took a lot out of me because, like I said, I have trouble dealing with not being super in control of everything. But Grumpy Game Dev, my friend, you are a legend. Thank you so much for pointing me in the right direction, for sticking with me and explaining all this crap that was just breaking my brain. Of course, you know that means that you have to be here every time I stream because order some Indian food. Deflux, are you in Mario Lane's community? Are you in the 2009 crew? Because I just was talking. I was just talking the other day about craving Indian food, and then went and got some. Who are you, Deflux K? Okay, or was that just absolutely by chance? Grumpy Game Dev, I'm kidding. I do need to. I need to learn more. I need to bone up on proper test-driven development. And I'm a spy. Oh, gotcha. Because especially now I need to start thinking about edge cases. And that's where I really am. Some of the things are obvious, but covering the true edge cases, the ones that are really going to bite me, is where I'm going to have some trouble. but no, I do seriously appreciate you being here, because that helped me think through a lot of this. And of course, anytime you can be here, I would love to have you, because you'll, I'm sure, keep me out of trouble. But yeah, I'm gonna call it a day. We're almost at 2 hours and 40 minutes or so. That was a good stream. I'm proud of that. I overcame my own tendency to turtle when I'm uncomfortable, more or less. But I think we made some good progress. So we've got a good number of our entities now fleshed out. We've got our first service started, which is the goal, and we have our first unit test written, which was the other goal. So thank you so much for hanging out. For the raiders, thank you for sticking around, because I definitely see some of you did. Deflex, I know you're one of those. Thanks to Silicon Orchid for the raid. Thank you to all of our UK friends are here. Are for you. All of our UK friends are for you. Don't forget that. They're good folks. Just British. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's seriously. Layla and Silicon Orchid. And yeah. Really, the whole live... Grumpy Game Dev, you're on the Live Coders team too, right? I think you are. Anyway, the whole Live Coders team, like everybody I've come across there, it's just remarkable. They're all great folks. So yeah, I hope to join the ranks one of these days. I want to get my feet under me. I want to get kind of my schedule in place and get my average viewership up to the right numbers and all that, sort of on my own. I want to get a better sense of what I'm doing with this thing and get a little more comfortable before I apply. Not that I even qualify at the moment, but yeah, the live coding community, the Twitch coding community has been a lot of fun to get into. So I'm going to call it a day, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, I was going to thank you. So thanks Cryptic Enigma again for the follow. Thank you so much, Stuart and Jamie and Shizmo for the subscriptions. That's remarkable. I appreciate it. Stroth J, thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. If you came from the dev community, which again, I'll post that link one more time. If you came from the dev community, I will have a recap of today with probably a slightly edited copy of the replay on YouTube. So I'm going to kind of use dev as sort of my journal of this process, and I will definitely talk about the test-driven development part of this. But other than that, I am going to head out and get some food and get some actual work done that people are paying me for. Suggest raid Jitter Ted. Hey, sounds good to me. Let me pull him up and make sure that I have the right person. Because my very first raid attempt went extremely poorly because I left out an underscore, I think is what it was. Jitter Ted. More testable Java. Hey, there you go. Cool. All right, so we're going to do that. Let me... That's what I need when I'm starving, is an ad for a damn chicken sandwich that I can't have right now. But, okay, so I'm going to quit rambling. I'm going to go to the end screen, and I'm going to... Yeah, I could go for some Popeyes for serious. Sabria, we might be going to Popeyes. Yes, I'm going to go to the end screen, I'm going to raid, and I'm going to go eat. I'm going to stop talking. Thank you again, everyone, for being here today. I truly appreciate it. Grumpy Game Dev, you are a legend. Deflux K, sorry. Indian food. I just had it the other night. Like I said, I had some amazing... Distracting me real good today, sir. I had lamb vindaloo and tandoori chicken, and it was... I have not been so physically content in a long time. But anyway, gumbo is really just case. Gumbo done right is a thing of beauty, man, and that is one thing I love about living so close to Louisiana. But okay, once again, y'all quit distracting me. I'm going to the end screen, I'm raiding Jitter Ted, and I'm going to eat. Thank you for watching. We will see y'all soon.